Whether the team is performing clean or unsightly, we'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So over the weekend, it was reported that defensive end Ryan Kerrigan wants to be traded. He wants out. Not satisfied with his playing time. At times this season, over the last 2 or 3 games, he hasn't even made it to double-digit snaps. Yet he's been impactful when he's gotten opportunities. We've seen him play for full games and not amass much. You know, you think back to him playing in the Cleveland game. He wasn't very impactful. Think about him playing the following week after that versus the Ravens. Was not impactful in that game either. But in the games versus the Giants and Dallas, in limited snaps, Kerrigan was highly effective. And thus he feels like he has a lot more to offer. Doesn't want to sit on the sidelines and play in 7 or 9 snaps in a game. Have a sack in 7 snaps. And he wants to go help someone. And we totally get that as fans. We understand that this guy, he trains hard. He puts himself in a great physical condition to be able to help a team on more than 7 snaps a game. But it does not sound like this team, Ron Rivera, and this organization is really ready to part with Ryan Kerrigan. And there's a lot of nostalgia amongst Washington fans. I've talked to quite a bit of you guys who want to see this team hold on to Kerrigan, do not want to trade him under any circumstances. And to you, I say, I understand. We don't have much that we can lay claim to as an organization right now. Not many guys have been here for a very long time. Not many guys leave here on great terms. Not many guys we can say, hey, he's homegrown product. We drafted him. He's broken records here. He needs to retire here. We don't have many of those guys. Haven't done a good enough job of drafting players. Haven't done a good enough job of retaining players. And thus, we don't have many guys that can say, we started here, we're going to finish here. There aren't many Chris Samuels. There aren't many Darrell Greens of the world. There aren't many of those guys that you draft and they play their full careers with you. Chris Cooley. All right, not many of those guys exist here in Washington. Haven't over the last 30 years. But Kerrigan's been one of the few. And a lot of you hold on to that. Here's the thing about Ryan Kerrigan. I'm not going to get into the he's this and he's that. We've done that before. I like Ryan Kerrigan. Contrary to popular belief, a lot of you think I don't like Ryan Kerrigan. That couldn't be further from the truth. My argument has always been he's not elite, but that's not what we're here to discuss today because that's irrelevant. He owns the Washington all-time sack record for most sacks in a Washington uniform. That's a big accomplishment. He deserves it. He's been a mainstay. He's done everything the right way. He's represented this organization the right way. And I keep hearing this from a lot of fans. He deserves to play for a winner. He served his time here. They need to do right by Ryan Kerrigan. There is no such thing in this league as doing right by a player. You do what's best for the organization, okay? In some fantasy world, you do right by the player. And certain organizations actually do right by the player, like the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're one of the few organizations that actually do right by their players. Just about everybody else, they go by the G code. The grimy code is what I call it. The G code. Do whatever is best for you. To hell with the guy that served for 12 years for your organization, done it the right way. To hell with that. You think Chris Cooley wanted to be snipped at training camp when he still thought he had good football left in him? When Shanahan asked him, do you want to go out and practice? Or do you want us to just cut you now? What the hell do I look like? Rudy? What do you mean do I want to go practice and then get cut? No, cut me now. This business is cutthroat. We've known that forever. It's always going to be that way. Few times do these situations. I remember when Donovan McNabb was here and everybody, oh, we need to do right by Donovan and just release him and let him. Hell no. You know what we did? One of the few times Bruce Allen actually got something right. They held on to Donovan's ass and they traded him for a 6th-round pick that turned into Alfred Morris. We don't win the division in 2012 without Alfred Morris. So you don't just Hey, let's just do right by Ryan. Give him a shot to win. What does that even mean? Anyway, here's the thing. You can either get something for Ryan or you can get nothing for Ryan. Now, I understand, and I talked about this on my podcast today, but there's a fine line that teams have to be able to straddle. When you're in a situation where you're not quite an elite team or a good team even, but you're not out of the playoff race and chase yet. So what do you do when a team approaches you and says, hey, what will it take for us to get X, Y, or Z player? Well, X player, Y player, and Z player are all helping us win still. So if I trade any of those guys away, it hurts our chances in 2020 to be competitive. If I hold on to them for the remainder of 2020, maybe they help us win a division championship. Maybe they help us win a playoff game. Maybe they help us win nothing. I can assure you of this with Ryan Kerrigan. Whether he helps us in 2020 or he doesn't, he won't be helping us past 2020. This is the last year Ryan Kerrigan will be in a Washington uniform. You can believe that. Kerrigan's not coming back here in the offseason, even if Washington throws money at him, to play in 11 snaps, to play in 22 snaps in a ball game. He sees the writing on the wall. He's no dummy. And he also knows he's not the future at the position. The guys that are the ones playing 50 snaps, 43 snaps. Those are the guys taking away his snaps right now. The Chase Youngs of the world and the Montez Sweats. He's no fool. So for him to come back here next year thinking that something's going to change would be foolish. It would be the definition of insanity. So either you trade Kerrigan now while you can get something for him, or you can allow him to walk for free in the offseason. Either way, he's not going to be back in 2021. I can assure you of that. And Washington's not using a franchise tag on a 32, 33-year-old pass rusher who isn't playing but a handful of snaps every week, barring injury. So for all of you nostalgic Ryan Kerrigan fans who don't want him to go, you got two options. And if you still choose to hold on to him, I'm not going to chastise you for that. He can help us win this year. As Ron Rivera has laid out, this guy's doing everything that we've asked him to do. He's been ultra productive when he's gotten his opportunities. And he's been a great role model for the players on and off the field at his position. We hear Chase Young reference Ryan Kerrigan more than any other player on the team, talk about how he's a dude and how he does this and how he prepares his body and how he watches him do this, watches him do that. So he's having an impact, a positive impact. When I listen to Chris Cooley talk all the time, he talks about Brian Kozlowski, who was a veteran player on this roster his first year he got here. And he said he clinged to him. He latched on to him. He learned what it was to be a pro in this league from Brian Kozlowski, who was never a great player in this league, but he was a pro. He had been in the league 7-8 years. So he could show a guy like Chris Cooley, who was a wet-eared, wide-eyed rookie back in 2004. He could show him the ropes on what to do, what not to do. Same thing here with Chase Young and Montez Sweat. They're learning from a wily veteran in Ryan Kerrigan. And so, yeah, he does serve a purpose here. However, he's not a part of the long-term future. Even the most staunch Ryan Kerrigan supporter can acknowledge that. So, you got two options. You can hold on to him and continue through the 2020 season. Kerrigan's not one of these guys you got to worry about making a big stink. He's not one of these guys that's going to go on socials and air out the franchise, or he's going to pout on the sidelines and make a big deal. That's not Ryan Kerrigan. We don't have to worry about that. This won't turn into a Quentin Dunbar situation. He's requested a trade. If it happens, he'll be thankful for it. He'll thank the organization, and he'll go on his merry way. If he's not traded, he'll come to work on Wednesday like he normally does. He'll prepare, and he'll do the things he always has done, which is why we love Ryan Kerrigan. But again, if you really want to have Ryan Kerrigan impact this team past 2020, the best thing you can do is trade him. Because if you allow him to stay here and walk in the offseason, you get nothing. More likely than not, I don't know. Again, the CBA has some stipulations in there that talk about veterans that have been in the league like longer than 9 years with the team. And the highest you can get from a compensatory pick standpoint, I believe, is like a 5th round pick. I don't even know if you're going to coup that in the offseason if he walks away and signs elsewhere. Because obviously there's this weird equation, with free agents signed versus free agents that you lose that sign elsewhere. There's this weird equation. So we don't know what's going to become of all of the guys that we may or may not sign in the offseason. But I can tell you this, you can trade them right now and you'll know exactly what you're getting. You won't have to wait for some weird, funky equation to be put into place and all the numbers punched in to figure out if you're going to get a 5th or a 6th round compensatory pick for Ryan Kerrigan. You can find out right now what you can get for him and move on. Yeah, he's having an impact on his team. Yeah, he's one injury from playing significant snaps. I'm aware of all of those things. But I'm also aware that you might be able to get a 3rd or a 4th round pick for him right now. Why not? You're not getting a 2nd. The best you might get is a 3rd from one of these really pass rush needy teams. And there are plenty of them that are looking to chase in the postseason. But at the end of the day, I don't think he's going anywhere. It doesn't sound like Rivera is interested in moving him at this juncture. And then you turn your sights to Dwayne, who they couldn't wait to get out of the building. They can't wait for someone to pick up the phone and ask, what will it take to get Dwayne out of the building? I just don't think the phone's ringing right now for Dwayne, personally. I think this is even more proof, I think, that had Washington not pulled the trigger on Dwayne Haskins at 15, I truly believe he would have suffered the same fate as Drew Lock in that 2019 draft. Drew Lock fell all the way to like 41 or 42, whatever it was that Denver traded back up to snag him at. 30-something. I don't remember exactly where Drew Lock went. I know it wasn't the first 5 picks of the 2nd round, that's for sure. It was more towards 40, maybe a little bit past 40, maybe a little bit before 40, somewhere in that range. He didn't go in the 1st round. That's all that matters. I talked about Drew Lock being my favorite quarterback in that draft, the most NFL-ready quarterback of that group, to him not even getting selected in the 1st round of the 2019 NFL draft. And if not for Washington, I think Dwayne Haskins would have been in that same boat. I do not think he would have been selected in the 1st round of the 2019 NFL draft. And I think you're seeing that now. Because if other teams were interested, the phone would have rung already, and I think Washington would have made a deal already. They haven't done themselves any favors with the way they've handled this situation, with the way they've kind of drug him through the mud, and finding him and making that public record and knowledge. The whole sick thing. Dwayne hasn't done us any favors. We haven't done him any favors. And really what it amounts to is a value, a trade value that has plummeted to the point now where, is it even worth trading him right now? Is it even worth it? Maybe you should just wait till the offseason. I don't think Dwayne's going anywhere right now. He's gone this offseason. Whether they got to release him or trade him, I don't think he's going to be around in 2021. I feel really confident in saying that. However, what are you going to get for him is the question. I don't think there's any way that they can repair his trade value. They've damaged it beyond repair. And, Dwayne hasn't done himself any favors. If he really wants to be traded, if his camp, who's come out and said already that it's time for a clean break and a fresh start for everyone, well, you haven't done yourself any favors with the whole sick fiasco and then the hotel nonsense. Like, you haven't done yourself any favors. If you're looking to get out, you should have been the best, on your best behavior possible. You should have been an Eagle Scout. Anything that they were looking for from you, you should have showed up and done that times 10. And that's your message to the rest of the league. It's not me, it's them. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to be a starter in this league and to get another opportunity. It's not me, it's them. It's always been them. If I'm Dwayne, that would have been my position. Well, he effed that up. Now everyone's looking at him like maybe he isn't working hard. Maybe he isn't. First of all, the talent was always there, but you questioned the maturity. You questioned the lack of experience. You questioned the footwork and the technical aspect of the game. And so there's a lot there. You questioned the athleticism. We haven't seen any of that this year. There were so many red flags with Dwayne. Remember, I wasn't a Dwayne Haskins fan. Keep that in mind. But once we drafted him, he was here, and I was on board at that point. We don't have a choice. What are you gonna do? I'm not one of these fans that, he's so trash, he's a bust. I can't wait for him to fail, and now I'm looking for him to fail so I can say I told you so. That's not me. If he's here, he's a part of the family. I'm gonna open my arms up and I'm gonna embrace him. Hope that it turns out well for us. Well, it didn't. Okay, let's move on. On to the next. On to the next one. You know, hard to move on when you always regret one. I felt like we let one get away. But that's nor here nor there. I look at this situation, and there's one guy that they are dying to trade, and there's another guy that they don't want to part ways with. And ultimately, I don't think either one is going anywhere. And as we approach the trade deadline, which is up tomorrow afternoon at 4:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I don't think Washington is going to make a single move, nor should they, unless they're trading away Dwayne or Ryan Kerrigan. And I would be in favor of both. I don't see Kerrigan going anywhere, and I don't see anyone, because what does it benefit you to trade for Dwayne Haskins now? I mean, other than get him into your facility now, get him acclimated now, get him used to the playbook now. I mean, yeah, there's some benefit from that standpoint, but what difference does it really make between trading for him now? Because he's not helping anybody this season, or trading for him in the offseason. It's really not much of a difference, to be honest, unless you really want this guy, i.e. Pittsburgh. Let's say you're the Steelers and you say, you know what? Dwayne Haskins would be the perfect backup to Ben Roethlisberger. Perfect. Bring him in here. He'll sit for 2 years. We'll play him. We'll pick up the 5th-year option. We'll play him. And we'll have the guy that we've been searching for, that we failed with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph. And what's the other guy's name that was in the XFL or the AAF? Yeah, him. We failed all those times. Joshua Dobbs, all of these guys. But we think we got a guy here in Haskins, former first-round pick that can get it done. He just needs the right environment. Sure, you get him in there. He watches Ben. He learns. The Steelers aren't doing that. They still have Dobbs there. Like, they don't have to do this. But, you know, that would be the situation. Nobody's traded for Haskins, and I don't think Washington's looking to trade Kerrigan. So I think the trade deadline is going to come. It's going to go, and we're going to stand pat. And I'm not mad at that. I ain't glad at it, but I ain't mad at it either. You get to in other news, and I want to knock a couple of items down quickly. So Washington team president Jason Wright spoke. He's been speaking a lot lately, and whether it's via social media or XM Sirius Radio or someone locally, he's been talking a lot more. And we talked about this, I think, a week ago, about the name and how it was a throwaway line in an interview he was doing for a local station here in the area. And he said, yeah, you know, more likely than not, we'll be the Washington football team in 2021 as well. And, you know, we were all up in arms like, oh, my God, I know I overreacted to it. And then he clarified those statements because there was this mini backlash from people like myself and a lot of you out there like, look, we don't want this team to be the football team. You know, some people were like, yeah, I'm cool with it. Let's rock with it. I like being a team. No, I don't. And most of us don't want to be the football team. And he felt a little bit of that backlash, and he was like, well, let me clarify this. There are a lot of things that go into this. There are a lot of changes that have to take place. There are a lot of things that have to be solidified before we can actually come up with a brand new name. And he referenced the Seattle Kraken in the NHL, and he talked about how it took them 4 years to establish the name, the logo, and the likeness and everything. And he wants to make sure this is done right, but we don't have 4 years. Is essentially what he was saying. Look, we want to expedite this process as fast as possible, but we also want to make sure we take our time and do it right. So he said, trust me, by the end of the 2021 season, you should know something in terms of a name. So what it sounds like is we're not going to be the Washington football team permanently, which is a breath of fresh air for me. I breathe in a sigh of relief. However, I still need to see what happens. They're still trying to, and Wright made this a point of emphasis. We're still taking in as much data as possible. Like things like, is HTTR something that means something to you as a fan? You damn right it does. I told you a long time, I don't give a shit what they named the team. I just wanted to start with an R so I could say HTTR. And I don't even use HTTWFT or whatever. I don't do any of that shit because it's too much and it doesn't sound right. HTTR. You name it, we could be the damn Washington Renaissance for all I care. I don't give a shit. Honestly, we're the football team now. What do I care? I would like to be able to keep some semblance of normalcy, and HTTR is one of the few things we have left. The R on the side of the helmet, to me, in some capacity, that's why I said I just need the name of the team to start with an R, because in some capacity, I'd like to feel like there is something that I can identify with, something from my childhood that I can identify with. And the R, the alternate R, the 70s throwback R, these are all things I remember very vividly, even when it was a throwback uniform, even when it was me rocking a hat. Just the R on the front. That's something that I can identify with. You put that on the side of the helmet, I'm cool with that. I know what that means. I see that and I think of, I won't say the glory years, but I think of the glory years. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I saw Coach Gibbs in Gibbs 1.0 with just the burgundy hat with the yellow, with the burgundy R. That was it. That was Joe's go-to hat. He'd show up with one or two hats. The one that said Washington Redskins, with the one that I have, that you see me wear all the time, that I used to wear with Washington in regular print and Redskins in kind of a cursive print, which is a dope-ass hat. Or you'd see him just show up with a burgundy hat with the gold R, ready to kick some ass. I want to see that. So just having the name start with an R, I don't give a shit what it stands for. Rebels, Rebellion, I don't give a shit. Just as long as it starts with an R. That's really all I care about. So that was good to hear from him. We heard from Ron Rivera today. Not really much to gather from this interview. A lot of it was about voting and things that were ancillary to football. However, there were a few questions in there. One that I think you would find rather interesting, and that was Eric Reid. We talked about Eric Reid turning down Washington's offer to join their practice squad. We saw Des Bryant do it with the Ravens. He was dying to get back into the league, though. Eric Reid is like, nah, I'm good. I'm in great shape. I've kept myself in tremendous shape. I don't want to be on anybody's practice squad. I'm ready to go. And what he's essentially saying, too, is the practice squad, you get peanuts. Like that's not a real contract you're signing. That's a joke. You get veteran minimum on the practice squad. I'm not signing up for anybody's veteran minimum. I want to come in and I want to make some real money. If I'm going to leave my couch, I'm leaving my couch for some real money, not for some chump change. So I think he spit on Rivera's offer, because he saw it as a sign of disrespect. But Ron said, look, I had a great conversation with Eric. Really smart guy. He gets it. And the plan I had for him was wanting him to get his legs up under him. Look, that's a bogus answer, but I know what Ron was trying to do. But let's be honest with ourselves. If this was a non-COVID season and you didn't have the practice squad available to you, to a veteran like Eric Reid, but you needed him, you wouldn't be concerned with him getting his legs under him. So you want to put him on the practice squad. That's not what you would have done. You would have just signed him. If you felt like he was in good enough shape, you would have signed him and you would have gradually worked him in. The first week, he might have had, 7 snaps. The next week, he might have played 20 snaps. And then after that, he might take over full time as the starter. That's what you would have done. You wouldn't have said, oh, well, he doesn't have his legs on, doesn't have a training camp. Because when you signed him in Carolina, he was coming off of being out of the league for 2 or 3 years. He didn't have a training camp for 3 years. What are you saying? So I know what Ron was trying to do. He's trying to minimize the whole practice squad thing. But at the end of the day, he said what he meant. And that was, I wanted to give our guys a chance, the young guys a chance. We want Eric Reid here as an insurance policy. And Eric Reid wasn't looking to be anybody's insurance policy. If you're signing me, I've proven to be a quality NFL starter in this league and a damn good one. I'm nobody's backup. I'm nobody's, insurance policy in case somebody goes down. You want to give Jeremy Reeves an opportunity? You want to see what Cameron Curl looks like? Cool. Let those young boys rock. I'll just sit over here. You got my number. If you need me, call me. I'm not coming on your practice squad, though. I'll be coming straight up to the big boys, to the big leagues. You're not going to have me over here on the JV squad giving you looks. That's not what I'm signing up for. So Rivera pretty much said, yeah, felt like I owed it to Jeremy Reeves to give him an opportunity. Guy was in camp with us, did some good things, did everything we asked him to do. Think he deserves a shot. Cool, I'm with that. I like Jeremy Reeves. I have no problems with him. The limited basis that we've seen him on, he's performed well. So I don't have a problem with him. Now, we don't have a ton of depth at safety. You're aware of this. We're one injury away from Troy Apke or Jeremy Reeves being in the game. Do you feel good about that? Hell no. I can answer that for every single Washington fan out there. Hell no. You don't feel comfortable with that. Nor should you. But that's where we are right now. Let's just pray we stay healthy. Because if we don't, we could be in some trouble. It wouldn't shock me if at some point we have to sign Eric Reid. We're literally one injury away from probably signing a guy like Eric Reid or some veteran out there that can come in and help us. So we'll see what happens. But as of right now, Ron cleared that up and said, yeah, I really want to see what the young boys are doing because we like what we've seen from them thus far. He talked about Cameron Curl coming in and playing. And I told you they like him in that big nickel package. They call it Buffalo. We just found that out today, that's what they call their big nickel, Buffalo. And he would be down in that box. He would be playing underneath in zone, and every now and again he'd be running with somebody in man-to-man. And as we saw against the Rams, that's not always a good thing when he got beat by Cooper Kupp. But I like Cameron Curl in the role that he's in right now, which is that of a strong safety down in the box. We'll see what they decide to do with him moving forward. But we're not going to – I don't see us doing anything of note right now. I think we're going to stand pat with where we are. And I think we're in a good spot. This upcoming game is massive for us. Massive. If the Dallas game was important to keep the season relevant into November, this Giants game is relevant to keep this season in relevancy getting into December, going into Thanksgiving. You beat the Giants and you could conceivably lose your next 2 versus Detroit and Cincinnati. You're still not out of this thing because you still have a chance to do massive damage in the division. Because if you go 5-1 in this division, you're going to sneak somebody outside the division. I'm adamant about this. I don't think we're going to lose both of those games against Detroit and Cincinnati. We're going to beat one of them. I firmly believe this. If not both of them. But I think we're going to beat one of them. But I told you, I don't want to talk about games down the road because if we don't beat the Giants, those games take on lesser meaning at that point. You get swept by the Giants, you don't deserve to win the division. Understand that. You can't beat the Giants once. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to represent anything here. So it is a must that we win this week. And every time we've had a game where I've put that kind of pressure on the boys, they've responded. They're 2-0 in those games this season. I put that pressure on them in week 1 right out of the gate. I said, I guaranteed a victory. They're going to want to get it for Ron. We owe Philadelphia. They beat us, 6 or 7 times in a row, whatever it was. It just felt like forever since we had beaten them. We were 0-6 in the division the year previous, and it was time to get off the schneid. And I guaranteed a victory. I put that pressure on the fellas. They delivered in week 1. I said, look, fellas, I don't want my season to be over in October. I want to be playing meaningful football in November. You have to beat Dallas, or else we're done. We're cooked. They responded to the challenge. I'm issuing another challenge this week. I didn't issue a challenge the first time we played the Giants because it wasn't a win or if. This is a win or you're done type of situation. You can't get swept by the Giants. You have to leave yourself some wiggle room in case you don't beat Dallas the second time or you don't beat Philadelphia the second time. You have to leave yourself some wiggle room. 4-2 is the worst you can be and win this division. I've already stated that. I really think the division winner is going to be 5-1, more likely than not. And I think it's going to be Philadelphia or it's going to be Washington. One of these two teams is going to go 5-1 in the division. And the team that does it is going to win the division. Well, guess what? We've already lost one, and the Eagles have already lost one in the division. So what is that telling you? That it's probably going to come down to week 17. But again, you got to get there first. And how do you get there? You got to beat the Giants in week 9. That's how you get there. So it's a big one. We'll talk more about it all week long. We'll have a lot to discuss on this game. So we don't have to do it all tonight. But what I want to also encourage you to do is to sign up for the community. Become a Mob Squad member. MOBB, stand up. We in the building. Okay? We'll be live tonight on Monday Night Football watching this game. I'm going to create a chat for that, and we'll watch this game tonight together. So by the time you see this, the game would have already been kicked off. Come join me. We'll be chopping it up in there, and I look forward to talking to you guys and watching this game with you. I expect the Giants ass whooping tonight, and I expect Tampa Bay to take care of business. The Giants are dead in this division, if you ask me. But if they want to surprise, this has been a weekend of surprises. If they want to surprise somebody, tonight's the night. Everybody else is doing it. They're not beating Tampa Bay. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to glide to the side, allow you guys to enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll watch this game. We'll talk about it afterwards. We'll be here all week. Watching Football Nightly. We'll be live on Wednesday night as we usually are. We'll prepare for this game. We'll talk about this game. Giants will be coming off of a short week. Quick turnaround for them. Heading to FedEx Field. We got to take care of business. And for the first time, we'll have fans in the stands. Roughly 8,000 fans will be allowed. Hopefully, they're nothing but burgundy and gold fans. We don't want any Giants fans infiltrating our stadium. First of all, it's not enough of them as it is, so we can't have the few that are there Giants fans or Eagles fans. Well, we already played the Eagles. Or we already played the Cowboys at home, so we don't have to worry about NFC East opponents coming in and taking over our stadium. This is the last team in the division we've got a home game against. We need to make sure we represent. So we'll talk about that later on in the week as well. But you enjoy the game. And if you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? Subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Go ahead, hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Hit that like button on the way out. Show your man some love. And we will reconvene tomorrow. And we will start to, we'll put a bow on the trade deadline, whether Washington has done anything or not. And then we'll start turning our attention to the New York Giants. We'll talk about tonight's game, what we have to look forward to moving forward. And I'm excited. Can't speak for you, but I'm excited. Until then, I'm your man Louie T, and this has been Washington Football Nightly. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The